Alright guys, welcome back to the Analyst Test. If you're wondering, oh, why is Jensen Go here on the Analyst Test, right? That's because I had to sub in for somebody who unfortunately fell sick for today. I thought I was coming as an analyst, but here I am hosting today's show. And with me, I have once again TJ and Coach Tyler. TJ for the third time, Coach Tyler for the second time, as we will be wrapping up the final set of the day. But before that, we saw ASU take a commanding 2-0 in the previous set against NAU, who despite being eliminated in the round of 32, has won some hearts over with the interesting draft in the previous series. Now, aggressively taking a scaling approach, the double tier stacking and stuff like that as an underdog is, I would say, it's a rather legitimate strategy, and it's something we will likely continue to see in this event. So, Coach Tyler, do you have any advice for any of these underdog teams attempting such an approach to perhaps create more upsets as we move into the round of 16 and moving forward?
Yeah, a lot of these teams, when they have a skill deficit against some of these more favored teams, they're going to try and go into a scaling favored approach. And it's a good strategy, as you mentioned. Just some things to keep in mind when you're trying to scale is choosing your fights really wisely. You don't want to fight before your item spikes or when the enemy team's champions are just stronger in the game. Like pre-6 skirmishes, when you have champions like Nocturne, as we saw that last game of U of T Blue, they had Nocturne ganked 3 times and had 3 fights before level 6, and that's not exactly what Nocturne wants to do. He has a scaling advantage because once he hits 6, he can really affect the map. And I think just choosing your fights wisely is going to be really, really important. Also, don't be afraid to give a couple of dragons. When your team comp isn't as strong as the enemy team, like, it's fine to give some dragons, try and get a trade on the other side of the map, build yourself a little gold buffer so that once your champions finally come online and you play that scaling composition, you're able to find the fights that are even just slightly gold shallow, and it should be a lot better for you.
Right, there was some solid advice. Perhaps you could even say that came from the Art of War itself. Everything is about timing, knowing when to fight. Or as they also say in the Art of War, burn them in their homes, burn them in their beds. Oh wait, I think that was Game of Thrones, right? But with that, we have to move on to our third series between Grandview University and UC San Diego. And before we talk about that, don't forget there's some other streams happening on at the same time. We only have 2 streams happening now at this point of time. On Unified Live, you can find University of St. Thomas going up against Delaware Esports, alongside what's happening as well. And to highlight the big things that has been happening in the tournament so far, Boulder, upset alert, was able to beat U of T Blue. And now to talk about GVU versus UC San Diego, the game at hand. So the big question of who should we watch for? The matchup we have on hand promises to have a much closer level of parity amongst the games that we have seen so far today. Are there any standouts that you guys see on the rosters that we are about to witness?
Yeah, so I'm personally very high on Pluto as a player. I've actually gotten the opportunity to both play and work with him, watch with him since he was at University of Miami, Ohio. I really respect him because I think he's willing to argue his points. He's willing to have deep chats about the game and kind of looks at things on more than just a surface level. He's also willing to adapt and listen, etc. And I think that's super awesome to have as a player. I know that he's willing to blind a great Karma. He doesn't mind being a Yumi kitten, and he can even play mechanical champions like Thresh and all the likes. So I think it's just a really well-rounded support, and he's definitely somebody that I would look for and would not be surprised at all if he was in the academy system in the next year or two. He's not the only person in the bot lane, though. Obviously, there is his duo AIRREN, and he's kind of regarded as one of the better players on GVU as well. I'm really looking forward to see how much mid-jungle pressure they then put down to the bot lane to allow them to take over the map with such an active support that's willing to shot call and kind of control the game. I do expect kind of a tank top as well from Prankuru, just to kind of, again, continue to allow that bot lane dominance. So that's kind of for me.
Yeah, and for me, I think looking over on the side of UCSD, it's a team that a lot of people might not know as familiar as GVU. GVU, but pretty well established esports collegiate school coming into this event. But I think UCSD, they do have some players that we should highlight. More specifically, I'm looking at KingClueless. He's someone who's really high on the challenger ladder right now, and a very mechanically skilled carry player coming back onto this squad. He was brought up from the development roster last year, and now with 3 new players bring up again from their development roster, he's one of the 2 veterans that are staying on board and demands a lot of respect amongst his teammates. And he's someone who we're going to look to kind of carry this team through, make plays around him, and really focus on bringing out those carry junglers, something like the Graves that he specializes in and can do so well on.
Right, I like how both of you guys highlighted the players that kind of ties these strategic complexities of both 2 teams in a very neat bow, right? For Pluto, he's this very versatile support, very highly mechanical, very talented support, and the way the team likes to play around and they build for their bot lane supremacy of sorts, and as well for what Tyler said, KingClueless, this is going to be the X factor. If we're going to see a UC San Diego victory, it will be coming through from the jungler, enabling those lanes, hitting the bot lane, or perhaps a good timing to kind of disrupt the plans that GVU might be trying to push forward. But how would they be able to execute these type of things as a team? We have to examine the team culture, and I think we've heard quite a fair bit about this. Tyler, I do believe you have something to say about GVU.
Yeah, I've talked about on my stream in the top 32 bracket prediction that I think GVU is one of the dark horses on this bottom left side of the bracket. I think they can show up really big against some big name teams, including Western and UST. I think if GVU is on the right copium, they have the right draft that works really well for them and can emphasize their player strength. I can see GVU going a long way. I think these guys have a great culture. They're all really good friends. They love to do banter. I banter with them back and forth all the time, and I think they're just a well collective, like great group of guys. I'm looking forward to seeing Devin play his unique champions. Maybe he gets an Udyr or at least draws an Udyr ban every single game. And I think they're just going to be really, really fun to watch overall because of the connection that they have with each other and in their program. I think they have a really great culture that I think Dreher, also their coach, does a great job of emphasizing too.
As they say, strategy is only 30% of what makes a team. The other 70% is your ability to bring a team together and have the man management skills. And it sounds like they have the friendship is magic thing kind of going there for GVU. Definitely hats off to Coach Dreher if he's able to get that going. And if they can gain the momentum as these things go along, we might really see, as you said, GVU becoming this dark horse, perhaps even making a run all the way to the finals itself. Now, let's talk a little bit about UC San Diego. TJ, what insights do you have into the opposition force to this GVU train that's looking to get started in a round of 32?
Yeah, so a little bit different than GVU. They're not really a school-supported program, so they're a bunch of students that have banded together to form a team and get this far in the tournament. And it's quite miraculous. They have so many high-ranked players, and they're going to show a real competition for GVU here. They are all very young, most of them at least, which I think is super interesting because a lot of the players in GVU we've seen around amateur for a long time. And so today's kind of be like an old blood, new blood type of situation where can the leadership from KingClueless kind of manage all of the younger players to compete against players that have been playing together for so long that are great friends and all the likes. It is possible that UCSD could be some unknown talent that maybe some scouts haven't seen because they just aren't as public as a team like GVU. So it'll be exciting for me to see if they're able to contest them or if they'll just kind of fall flat.
Right, and with that, let's throw it over to predictions. And as you guys give your predictions, kind of like cap up, like what do you hope to see in this game as well, on top of the scoreline? Let's start
I'm
with
looking for a 2-0 from
TJ.
GVU. I think that they'll take a convincing win today. I think it's different than most of my other predictions. I've been very like 2-1, 2-0. But I really do think that it'll be a 2-0 with a convincing win just based on working together more. It can't be understated how important it is that you've played together very often and are willing to work together. But also, I think that it's pretty favorable for GVU right now with the way the game tends to be played. It's very possible to play through the bot lane, have self-sufficient tank-ish top laner, and that's exactly what GVU wants to do. So I'm expecting a GVU win today.
Okay, since you've gone the 2-0, which I normally do, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you here. I'm gonna say 2-1 GVU. And the reason why I'm gonna say 2-1 is because I think GVU is a team that I don't think they're the cleanest team. Okay, like I don't think GVU has these insane clean wins like we saw earlier. I think that GVU is going to be a team that they download their opponent, they just run at them and they bash against them and they team fight and they just download how you play the game and then they're going to beat you eventually in the series. And I think it's going to be a 2-1. There's going to be a lot of fighting going on, and I think it's going to be really exciting and action packed.
And what if they do get a win here? Would it be through UCST bringing out some exciting cheese, or if there's some sloppiness on the side of GVU? Where are the holes in the game at the moment that you might see this win or loss coming through for either side?
Yeah, I think UCSD actually plays some really fun teamfight compositions like Galio, Camille, Viego, Nautilus, all these champions where they have a lot of team fighting potential, and if the game does go a little bit later, they could have an edge just because they have great scaling team fighting compositions. And I think one of those times in one of these games, they're going to be able to secure a clutch team fight later on in the game and be able to sneak a win in this matchup.
So for UCSD, we're probably looking at the likes of strong enablers, Galio, and Vex, and something that can hard carry a team fight. The affiliates, I think that's going to be contested pick and drop, or Diego. And with that, I think that kind of wraps it up. My prediction, I'm going to go with 2-0 for GVU this time around. And I'm going to be throwing things off. This time it's Rebel, not joined by Speedy, by Decerux. All the best, guys.
Thank you so much, Jensen. And it's an honor to get tossed to by the General of Maryville himself. Welcome to the Cast and Desk. My name is Decerux, and of course, the full nonsense Rebel Fox today. I see you are now winding down from an exciting weekend to start off CLOL.
Oh yeah, it's been insane. Yesterday we had the two incredible best of threes that both went the entire distance. We got an amazing amount of picks that went crazy. I don't even want to talk about the Alawi that came out yesterday. I had to do VCS finals this morning, 2 more amazing series. And finally, we come to the end of the first weekend of the round of 32. And what an amazing series we have to kick things off at the end here.
One more to go. The first in the Midwest, Grandview University taking on the third in the West, UC San Diego. Now, for UC San Diego, I want to start off with the Western Conference. It gets a little bit overlooked when it comes to a lot of these other divisions, such as the Northern Conference, such as the Midwest that we have right here with Grandview University. But this is still a very competitive group that's been garnering much more attention as of lately. That's been developing much more as of lately. You know, Arizona State having Fire Theft, UC Irvine having Kim Down. For UC San Diego to come from that division, it's no slouch in competition.
Not at all. The last couple of years, I think it's been tough because UCI hasn't had the same kind of roster that they were looking at back when they were competitive for the national title in like 2016, 2017, that type of territory. And the rebuilding of the roster really made the region kind of reemerge. I think the West is looking a lot better. ASU is looking incredible. Their series on this channel just a little bit earlier today was one of the best we've had, I think, in terms of cleanliness that we've seen, just in that purity. I know UCI won their match as well. And these other teams that were below, like, you have UC Riverside, which is the team that qualified last year. California Golden Bears were also a very good team. The fact that San Diego were the ones that actually stepped up and were able to come out of the Western Division in a 3-1 in the finals was incredible. It speaks really heavily to their development system as a player set. Like, this isn't like a coach being able to develop players at another level. This is all them, man. It's kind of incredible.
But now they're going against a very proven team. Grandview University, we've talked a lot about how they performed in CLOL. Only had one competitor, that was really Purdue throughout the rest of the season, swept through the playoffs. But they also participated in the amateur scene, that being Proving Grounds. 2-3 at each open qualifier, so close to being in that actual circuit for Proving Grounds, including a 37-minute war that we saw with UCI. So this team has been proven in the amateur scene. It's sort of a lesser extent of a David versus Goliath type of thing we're going on here. It's a much more experienced roster in Grandview University.
The situation that I'm seeing with a lot of rosters is that, like, any of them that kind of expanded into amateur wanted to really be able to battle test this roster before getting into CLOL top 32, and they seem like the teams that are all battle hardened, ready for anything that is thrown at them by any of these additional teams, right? You can always slip up and give a game, but if you've been practicing inside of AM, inside of so PG and things like that, you're getting a lot better boost here. And I have to give props to this roster design, which was Dreher. Walking into the season, Dreher took over as a head coach. He said, I want to be able to have this roster and forge it of my own volition. And he was able to do so very masterfully because he was able to bring together a bunch of players that now all of a sudden are garnering looks for like PG teams, amateur teams, even like Academy, as our desk kind of made mention of. Specifically, that bottom lane has just been insane for them all season. We're very excited to see what they can do today.
I'm so excited, and I'm so excited just watching a team that's as confident as the camaraderie they have that was mentioned on the analyst desk earlier when talking about Grandview University. You know, watching their playoffs run and seeing what they did. They got to the finals, win against Ottawa. And before the match, you know, Kolthro is already throwing banter out there, getting the trash talk, that this is going to be a quick and easy game. They end up 3-0ing in the playoffs. So it shows you the level of confidence they have. It's stuff that we like to see. You know, we like to see a lot more of that personality here in CLOL.
Yeah, and MEC is full of a bunch of personality, and specifically GVU has got more than enough of it in space for players pretty much across this roster. I'm hoping that we actually get a bit more personality to come out of UCSD because I love a lot of their players. I'm going to be able to hype at least one as we get into game because he's one of my favorite players that I've seen inside of the entirety of collegiate, and nobody really knows about him, so I get to be the one that found him first, at least so to speak. But they've got a lot of players as well that are very talented. This is going to be a very passionate game, and our desk also set it up as being, again, a very match that could be incredibly competitive in the right setting. I'm excited to see what UCSD has brought out against Grandview because it is going to be a challenge nonetheless.
That's the thing. I'm not that excited about Grandview's draft. I want to see the UCSD draft.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see what they're looking to bring for this one. Onks has been playing much more of the carry heavy potential over on the top side. We've seen him have standout games against Riverside on Gwen, pulling out the action against Berkeley. There's some spicy picks that they have in there as we go through the draft.
They do. The player to keep your eye on, of course, is KingClueless, as that's the setup for the entire roster. Not only is it the veteran presence that sits here for the side of UCSD, being one of the more experienced members on the roster alongside Unless, but it seems to be somebody that everybody has a lot of respect for. He's very high on the ladder. He's probably the highest player on the ladder right now, and all of them kind of see him as being like the guide to the rest of what the team wants to be able to accomplish. So pay attention quite a bit to what is going to happen here from UCSD's jungler as we get into draft. I'm not shocked at all to see the Karma removed from the table immediately. That's been played by Pluto all too much. You don't want that ranged advantage in the bottom lane for AIRREN and Pluto because they're coming on strong as of late.
He's been looking like a stud on the Karma. It's been one of his bread and butter champions to go to as of lately. Historically, it was the Thresh more than anything. Lately in this season, he's just been popping off in that champion. So respect Pluto to ban that away. Taking it very slow and careful with this first phase of the draft. It's Misfortune now targeting the marksman. Jinx going to be banned away as well.
And now I wonder if the Xayah gets removed from the table here from the side of UCSD, because with the Misfortune gone, that's kind of the first look that you have at the counter to just the Xayah being B1 in this situation. And if it goes into AIRREN's hands, you can put a lot of different supports with it. I know that Pluto is capable of masterfully taking things like Leona or Rakan that pair alongside it pretty well if you want to get aggressive or if you want to make map impact or range to bot laners, just to get a bunch of play alongside the lethality Xayah. So it wouldn't be shocking. I think if UCSD was really considering this and really want to put the bot lane in a hole, that's the first way to do so. You take the Xayah off the board, all of a sudden you're down a fair ways on the tier list, because that means the Jinx is gone, the Misfortune's gone, and now the Xayah also taken off the board.
One of the big things, though, is AIRREN has been one of the more flexible marksmen overall of amateur. I don't want to even say just a collegiate, of amateur as a whole. So, you try and ban him out. It is very difficult. You can play Ezreal, Felios, Jinx, you name it. He's already showing off the entire pool right now as they go through marksman after marksman.
Yeah. Now, the response, of course, is that UCSD, one of their most picked champions is Jhin. So whatever you're picking into this bottom lane, you have to understand that they're probably willing to take Jhin into it no matter what the situation. And that means that, now your bottom lane setup is a little difficult, because Jhin isn't exactly the easiest nut to crack in the bottom lane. If it's Lucian, Nami here, you could be up for some very incredible things. This was something that actually got played in the playoffs by my favorite player in the entire tournament, lemontartdreamer. He, I think, had 40% damage share, and he also had like 10 kills on this in the playoff game, which is kind of insane to think about as somebody that I'm watching on the day to have a lot of massive impact. You could see they knew that they were going for the Nami, so they grab up the Ahri, pretty easy champion to try to blind pick in the mid lane. The response is going to have to come out from Meslo.
And this was the champion that got him a victory in their match against Irvine. That, not going the way, it's still knocking down into third place, but able to get one dub off the back of lemontartdreamer on this Ahri. But the duo being drafted for the side of Grandview University, going a little bit classic here. They're grabbing the Lucian, they're grabbing the Nami, but most importantly, actually, you're breaking our hearts, producer. It's not an Udyr. TJ, the rest of the analyst test, I'm so sorry. It is an Ornn that is locked in.
That's an Ornn that's locked in. Okay, so there's two reasons why I'm upset about this. Number one, Udyr is one of Kolthro's favorite champions. We haven't seen it at the event yet. The other reason is that for collegiate players, there are not a lot of players that have direct counters to Udyr. However, KingClueless has a very specific one. Singe jungle. He would play Singe jungle into Udyr, which is the one opportunity. Because Kolthro plays so much Udyr, you think maybe he can deep pocket this. Maybe he can pull it out in the grand scheme of things. I hope I'm not revealing tech way too early in this draft, because it's still possible. The Ornn getting locked in means that it's not out of the realm of reality. But at least we do see kind of the wrap up of bot lanes here. A lot of CC to wrap up against the Lucian and the Nami, and enough tankiness, hopefully, in the Leona to not have to worry about getting engaged on very early. That is a very, very good pack-a-punch duo with AIRREN and Pluto on the bottom side.
Brother Rebel leaking the draft out, leaking those hidden strats. How dare you?
I've been doing it all weekend, man.
So UCSD are still sticking with a lot of the comfort that they've
there we go.
Okay, we have gotten confirmation. We'll get to that in just a second. So more comfort for the side of UCSD. They are locking the Gwen, getting that in the top side. Engage support with the Leona for Unless. But we do have the Udyr now for Grandview University.
a pretty well-rounded composition now. You have a powerful bot lane, easy scaling for Meslo in the mid. You've got the scaling as well for Ornn, but he's good enough to kind of play at any stage in the game. Good team fighting. It sets them up for a lot. And it means that Kolthro is in for a relatively kind of lax earlier stage of the game where he doesn't have to do all that much. The Since it's just a hover, almost certainly they don't need the extra magic damage in the jungle versus jungle matchup. And the Hecarim, it is nerfed, but at least it's something that I know that KingClueless played for a good amount of the season, so must be just comfort in this particular sense.
Yeah, he played it a lot in the playoffs. His #1 played champion when it came to the playoffs. So, again, this is UCSD really sticking to their guns. They're really sticking to the champions that have been tested in the playoffs, in the regular season, that have brought them success. It's going to be nothing really too out of the box coming out of UCSD as they challenge Grandview University.
Yeah, it's a start off in this drafting phase where you see a number of the champions from both teams being comfortable for them, but also like kind of fitting into his style. We talked about how like AIRREN and Pluto are an incredible bottom lane duo. They're coming out to flex some muscles to start off in a series like this. They've got the Lucian Nami. They want to be able to take over the bottom lane. And while there is impact to be held by like KingClueless, when it comes to a full out carry, it feels like that responsibility falls to lemontartdreamer and Angst a lot more. So focus towards the top side could be more leveraged into helping out your later stages of the game if that's what UCSD feels that they need to do in order to recover from any kind of bot shenanigans. If Disrespectful and Unless are able to neutralize down there, maybe getting LTD or Angst taken care of on the top side will help start generating a snowball that they're able to operate on.
Man, but that's the fear, right? If this does get to the mid game, if this does get to the late game, UCSD, they're not as experienced as handling some of those situations as someone like Grandview University, who do have a proper coaching staff such as Draker. And as we said, the experience before of playing in the proving grounds, of having a lot of these high-end teams to really test yourself against and develop against. For UC San Diego, we talked a little bit earlier about this. We felt like winning early is the best key to success for them, just off of that experience differential.
And it's really interesting because, again, UCSD talked about it, but not only are they good at like taking a lead, because obviously having 3,000 gold at the beginning of the game is always going to be beneficial for your team, but they tend to transition their leads incredibly well inside of games into winning situations for themselves, which is why if they get off to a good foot, that's a great place to be. The problem is, where do you attack? Because in a game like this, you've got 3 bricks in the top jungle and mid position where it's like, how do you gank a Viktor? How do you try to bring down the Ornn? So I almost feel like we're in for a very bottom side focus game on both sides. On one hand, you're trying to get AIRREN and Pluto in a very good place if you're Kolthro, if you're even Prankuru, getting down into the bottom side of the map for the dragon stacking. And if you're UCSD, if you're able to kind of clamp that off and you just get random kind of ambient laning phases that are going standard, and you're able to stop the early game of the Lucian and the Nami from going well, maybe that's the advantage that you need to start that snowball that they're talking about, being able to kind of exemplify.
It will be very tricky to do in the bottom lane, considering this is AIRREN and Pluto. This is the players we are hyping up for this one. Pluto just hit Challenger again about like 4 days ago. He's been absolutely phenomenal so far in this year of play. He's been incredibly vocal, a god tier in versatility, a vocal leader. This is a tough group to beat. This is going to be a tough lane to focus down to when you have such powerful decision making in that lane.
It truly will be. Not to mention, Kolthro on the Udyr is so well versed in being able to punish elsewhere on the map as well. Kind of just do his own thing and farm up just as much as possible. I feel like KingClueless is in for quite a bit of a rude awakening here because he's up against a tough champion to try to deal with in the Udyr on the opposite side with a very well versed person, trying to deal with getting a Jhin ahead in the bottom side against such a powerful bottom lane duo with such talented players. And the alternative to that is you're playing through Angst and lemontartdreamer, 2 of the players that got brought in from just this year, off the back of some of that developmental squad that we were talking about. You're putting a lot of faith into some of the younger members of your roster being able to try to get them ahead. And again, I have faith very heavily in KingClueless and in lemontartdreamer especially. He's my favorite. I'm gonna be screaming that name a lot this series, but we'll have to see how it goes, man.
We'll see if KingClueless can do it. Very experienced player. Again, he is helping develop this roster. He's been active in the amateur scene on Last Resistance. We did cover the UPL this spring. Top 8 for that finish when it came down. But look at this. A 5-stack going both ways, Rebel.
Both bot lanes one right. Oh, they have no idea. They didn't put a word down.
Oh my god, here we go. The fight's going to break out. A level 1 5v5. Tankiest boy, Prankuru, can no longer absorb the damage. lemontartdreamer, we're saying the name already to start it off, Rebel. He will get first blood.
See, this is why you shorted it to LDD, because you want to scream it and you're going to say it so much with all the activity. You got to go LTD instead. It's like an Eastern region being able to shorten the name to something more manageable. The reason you do this is to put a ward down in that mid rush, which is why I was so confused that neither team really did that. Instead, it was just an invade on both sides that led to Prankuru in a bad situation. If he tries to flash, like, they at least get the summoner spell, but it wasn't anything except for, it was Ghost and Ignite actually burn. I thought it was only the Ignite burn from Unless, but the Ghost being burnt by Clueless does mean a little bit of early game action that could be taken off the board. Nonetheless, San Diego, they strike first. Maybe this is the snowball, man. It's the snowball.
That's it. Snowball starts
That's
at pre-60 seconds. lemontartdreamer's already got his first kill. Is he going to pop off? Is this the correct nature of the mid laner you're hoping for, Rebel?
Oh, yes. Oh, very much so. I can appreciate this as well, because I've seen Ahri's in this tournament not taking Dematerializer, and I love Dematerializer because it changes your wave clear break point. And so because of that, it's one of my favorite runes to take, and I don't see it on every Ahri. This guy knows exactly how to tug at my heartstrings. I don't know how to say it. This is why he's my favorite mid laner in the tournament right now.
Careful, I can hear your blushing, Rebel.
Oh, yeah.
Now watching this Udyr for Kolthro, I want to see where he's going to path to. You know, this is a big pick for him. It's something he likes to grab pretty often when he's not going on the standard power farmers he's normally grabbing. He is clearing his top side jungle as he makes his way towards the bottom side finish there.
It's interesting because I've heard a lot from coaches, especially talking to coaches at this event, about just how ridiculously powerful the Udyr is right now. In fact, last series we had ASU in, and their jungler played quite a bit of it as well. And it got banned from him basically to both games in a row, which is crazy because not like, again, if you go through like probably the majority of the games in this tournament that have been played so far, Udyr is showing up nowhere, except for in a couple of very instant circumstances where these junglers have kept it in the pool. But it's such a meaningful champion. It's such an impactful champion when you're able to use it effectively. And of course, now Kolthro being one of those. I have a sense that champion won't make it through the second pick and ban, because I have a sense that, of course, Kolthro is going to go crazy on this champion over the course of this game. But to start off, I doubt we're going to get a bunch of action. I think it's difficult to gank most of these lanes. The best setup, I think, goes into top side, trying to put Anks into the ground. It's kind of difficult anywhere else finding something to go for on this ground-based champion.
Yeah, so just taking a slow burn for the early stages of this game is what we're really expecting. Can't really blame it, can't really phase it. It's just going to be a game of centimeters, really. And as we said, this is the round of 32. You really want to get the victory right here to at least get into the top 16, and the later stages of this bracket still have a lot of competition with them. I believe Western is a part of this. The University of St. Thomas is a part of this side of the bracket.
Yep. In fact, the winner of this game actually goes on to play Western next round in the best of 16. So this has been a kind of continuing trend. That's a very good team. They're number one in the East. I know one of our deskers knows all about the Eastern Conference, and Coach Tyler there. So he's able to speak to Western at least a little bit in just how talented that they are as well. But it's going to be a mean match pretty much no matter what. So the competition here, obviously, hard enough competition right in front of you here today. I know neither one of them is planning to go into next week already. But you know that's going to be a challenge and a step up that you're going to have to worry about then as well. So,
yeah, you're seeing the difficulty of trying to attempt any gank in these games. lemontartdreamer, as long as he has its flash, it's very hard to gank him. Pre-6, post-6, it becomes a different thing. Get that Spirit Rush, so much mobility. And for UC San Diego, it's a little bit of the name of what they have for their mid lane and their jungle. Lots of mobility on this one. There's lots of potential if you can free up this Ahri for lemontartdreamer to just go dual roaming along with KingClueless.
And ending up to the bottom side, KingClueless is here, just again trying to baby clamp off the bottom lane. He walked across the ward, but here comes LTD, like you said, as both of them are setting up for a very deep dive onto AIRREN and Pluto.
Right. Oh. Starting up the dive, looking to flash forward, Unless tries to get the shield Daybreak. Deadly Flourish goes out. Pluto's going to be the first one to fall. Disrespect grabs that kill. They're looking to finish it off, but one gets returned, two get returned. And it's a 2-for-2 exchange off of a dive initiated by UC San Diego.
Really incredible. Once again, it's kind of the beneficiary of the Ahri being able to pick up a couple of kills on the back end of this one. Going underneath of the tower is kind of incredible as well. So first off, it's difficult to dive the Nami. The bubble actually stops up the ADC for some of the consistent damage and some of the CC that can come out to lock them in place so they can make this happen. I want to see how the second kill happened more than anything else. Oh, the turret shot from Dell. one more like step, and maybe a couple more steps necessary for him to get out of tower aggro range probably would have got him out of that with just the 1 kill. So disrespectful, unfortunately, falling victim to the tower.
It's so tragic, and such an effort put down there. You're still returning kills, 2 of them, you know, even at the end, grand scheme of things. AIRREN being on that Lucian, of course, gonna love that low econ to get that Lucian going, and a lot of presence now being applied from Grandview towards this riverside where the Drake is.
Interesting. I wonder if they want to fight early, too. They do have the Udyr to be able to do something like this, which is a very powerful champion to start with. And level 6 also for Viktor, he's got a lot of zone control to work with, as well as the push in bot side. So it feels like a lot of control that Grandview has over the bottom river, just because of how powerful that this bot lane duo truly is. Yep.
He does have flash available. Looking to go in for the gank is KingClueless, trying to walk to the jungler. Kolthro coming in with the bear stance, gets caught out by the Orb of Deception. Now Kolthro wants to return 1 kill. Will find it onto KingClueless, making this a 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
That's 3 kills now into the Ahri. I'm keeping track, because again, this is something that was big over the course of the season. But again, 1-for-1 trade. I think it does take a little bit of the air out of the sails. The one thing was that like the smite was down and the bot push was held, but they were able to push back out on the bottom side. So what I'm looking at here is, what are they trying to set up? So the jump is, if you go for dragon, then you're just going to lose your mid laner for free. So they have to pull out of the dragon play so that the support can come up here from Kolthro. This was really close. I actually love Kolthro's decision making. Instead of going for the Ahri, who had the reset on the Spirit Rush, turning immediately to the Hecarim, who had no way to get out of that fight. Very heads up from Kolthro being able to make that play happen and being able to trade for the 1-for-1, even if it does remove their ability to take the dragon immediately.
I just noticed Kolthro was not the one to get that kill, so
yeah,
the gold allocation, you got to appreciate that. It's just a little bit by chance on that one.
And it's not just gold allocation too, because kills on Viktor early get him that like hex core upgrade, which means that you get that like wave clear breakpoint of the aftershock, the upgrade of the laser that hits a second time. And so again, this challenge of going back and forth between these two, the Ahri and the Viktor. The Ahri really wants to be able to clear the waves faster so she can make an impact. The Viktor not so much, but as his wave clear is high, he prevents the Ahri from moving a lot faster than he can, so he can always be there in the circumstances where lemontartdreamer maybe wants to make an impact with side lane.
Now, grabbing some mid lane priority is going to be UC San Diego. They're trying to get some vision established over towards this river. First strike of the game will be Infernal. 7 minutes into this, we're still very even. It's still a very slow game. It's been trades nonetheless. Trying to set up Kolthro now on his bottom side jungle. KingClueless on the opposite end of things is he's going to start up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, it might be just a free Rift Herald being kind of seeded over. Again, LTD, the mid lane, has more than enough pressure, and it seems like Onyx has actually been choking up on Prankuru pretty heavily here for the last wave or two, to allow for this space for KingClueless to just snag this one away. And even better, like, Kolthro's on the bottom side of the map, so there's almost no chance he just kind of beelines up here. So it is just a free objective, and no dragon traded yet either. Only just now, Kolthro's going to walk across vision and end up on the dragon. I wonder if they actually contest down to the bottom side. They weren't quite done with the Rift Herald, so I doubt that's going to be the case. Immediately into the mid lane is going to run KingClueless, which is going to get spotted on a ward as well. So it's just a question of where they want to end up putting that Rift Herald, but nothing too crazy to start with here.
Seems like the thought's there, but AIRREN, his thought is to put out the calling and chase away the bot lane of UC San Diego. Dragon now secured by Grandview University, soloed out by Kolthro in the bottom lane, who's now going in for a little bit of a deeper invade here into the jungle of UC San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, they've got space for it. They knew the Rift Herald had gone down, and because of the push on bottom side, there's almost no way that KingClueless can just go wandering into that bottom side jungle, so just free camp into the land.
Here's where it gets rough. Throwing down the ultimate. Meslo does the work. It gets the outplay onto KingClueless.
So close to having the damage down, but another loss of life here for all the aggression that San Diego is putting out here. Gotta see how this one happened, because initially you see this coming through. The charm, I think, set that up. The fear actually pushed him a little bit further away through his own gravity field. And maybe if he had found slightly better angle, it could have pushed him back up the lane. lemontartdreamer might have got another auto attack or something like that. But an unfortunate circumstance, just trying to burst out the Viktor. The shield's coming in clutch to block just a little bit of damage, and Meslo gets away with murder once again.
Love to see it. Love to see it out of Meslo. Again, he was one of those players that came back from Dawn, right? When he was playing in the top lane, made the transition to mid lane, has been playing so heavily towards these control mages and finding great success on it as he gets his second kill of the game here in the round of 32.
he always had really good hands, and I think it was just about being able to teach him all the intricacies of mid lane, because I remember watching him in UPL before he had been picked up by GVU. He still had really good hands, and he was still able to check a lot of good players. I actually remember him beating Bradley in a match, and that's something I bring up, and every time he sees me, he like pesters me about it, because it's the only thing I say about him, but not a lot of people know that, so I just like to bring it up because I think it's enough to gloat about just how good he is on a mechanical level. So being able to transition into the full mid lane role, having this champion pool start to advance, and learning more about kind of mid-game control has really been helpful for Meslo to become a more pivotal piece here for the side of Grandview as well.
Deep invade now coming out from Grandview University. Lemon waiting on the flank. Potential collapse coming out of UC San Diego, but it is spotted out. Meslo will go the direction of Lemon towards that mid lane, chase him away, and not going to continue with the invade after getting spotted out. Grandview just going back to neutral.
And at the beginning of the game, we were okay with the position that I think that disrespectful and unless we're in at one point, but at this point, that is no longer the case. It's about 20 to 30 CS advantage that is being held by AIRREN and Pluto on the bottom side of the map, which is, again, ideally you want to be pushing for kills, more advantage, but 30 CS is a pretty significant margin. 24 CS, I think, after all things, or 27 CS, something like that, is a very good margin to be on at only 11 minutes into the game for AIRREN and Pluto. So being able to continue this is going to be huge. And I bring this up because, again, KingClueless has to figure out what to do with this Rift Shield. Do you put it into one of these solo lanes to try to get more gold even into lemontartdreamer, or do you try to salvage the spot lane a little bit more?
See, unless potentially looking to turn around now with the W on cooldown. Don't want to take that engage on Leona, but look behind the tower. Kolthro now setting up for the potential dive. Same thing happening, mirrored opposite side. You see San Diego going to start it off onto Prankuru, who can't get the call of the Forge God in time. Will slip through, though. And is he going to be able to get out of this one? No, will have to walk into Onks. Can't get out of that one. Now it's Grandview's turn. It's their chance to try and get this dive to work out, to try and get some vengeance. Going on to Disrespectful. There is the exhaust. Meslo will show up, put down the laser, put down the ultimate. Be a trade 1-for-1, opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, Kolthro able to make his way into underneath of the tower where the trade-off is going into AIRREN and Pluto. Once again, picking up the bot players, putting out enough damage to that bottom lane of San Diego to be able to do something with. And it is first tower traded to topside. So once again, we're trying to establish how things were going to go, and it appears as though we figured out our battle line. San Diego has to work through mid and top as much as possible to be able to break down a lot of what is happening from Grandview, who's putting more resource into, first off, Meslo's picked up a couple of kills, but mainly bottom lane, who have been the target of affection now for a couple of situations to try to play down towards the bottom side of the map. This is the expectation we had coming in, and it really is living up to exactly that fruition for us.
And finally able to find somewhere to break through. KingClueless playing on that top side, as you have just mentioned. A lot of income found in the top lane, as Meslo will be able to sidestep that charm. And as UC San Diego keep finding success over there, the same thing is not happening on the opposite side of things, to say the least, for UC San Diego. Disrespectful and Unless have been suffering down here, unable to keep up with a lot of the pressure that the bottom lane we've had from both AIRREN and Pluto have applied to them.
It's really funny because both teams are actually getting a good amount of their damage going in a game like this, right? Because in a team fight, you're not relying usually on like a Jhin and Leona. They're more like CC, long range to be able to work with, more control inside of a team fight, as opposed to you know the rest of the map where you've got the Gwen and the Ahri, who will be doing a good amount of through damage through an entire 5-on-5 team fight. And the same is true on the other side, where it's like the Lucian and the Viktor who are doing a lot more, and the frontline tanks are the ones that are suffering.
Could not get the bear slap. KingClueless calling for backup. The rest of UC San Diego starting to charge in. Dragon is now on the map, and Grandview University are going to start it off. Looking to zone off will be Meslo. TP now coming in, looking for the bubbles, not going to land. Zenith Blade misses. Out comes the Solar Flare. Tidal Wave on one. Dragon acquired by Grandview University. Unless has to go golden to stay alive. First one to fall is going to be Meslo. It's a 1-for-1 exchange thus far. AIRREN looking to try and run away from this one. Gets chased down by Disrespectful. A double knockup coming out of Prankuru, who's trying to survive, who's trying to fight, but in the middle of 3 of UC San Diego will fall. The only one to survive is going to be Kolthro as he watches his team go down.
The Dragon gets taken, but it's a lost fight for Grandview, and a kick-off of the gold here, a spark for the side of UC San Diego that they might be able to build on when we talk about that early game. It didn't start off great, unless missing a couple abilities, but the big thing is Meslo getting caught out by Clueless on the side, losing most of his health bar. Now, I will say that Gravity Field stopping both Anks and lemontartdreamer was humongous for the shutdown gold going down into the Ahri. The thing is, Disrespectful is still here, and he's still a Jhin in the early stage of the game, able to put out damage sufficient for anything else, and the damage dealers got run down too quickly in this fight for GVU. As long as they had somebody there to kind of do damage alongside the Hecarim, alongside the Leona. They were in an okay place. That gets the Jhin a little bit further back into this game. It's a nice place to be. San Diego, again, up 2,500 gold. Not what we expected. Grandview's got the dragon stacking in their path, though.
This is looking good for UC San Diego. 3 members already at the top when it comes to the income, so getting that economy, especially onto lemontartdreamer, going to be so crucial. He is 3-1-4 thus far in this game, keeping up with his lane opponent Meslo so well. Has been very pivotal for UC San Diego as he heads towards this bottom lane to go ahead and meet the crash of Prankuru.
Yeah, biggest thing is, again, looking at both sides, the Jhin and Leona are going to be valuable for the later stage of the game. It's like a bit more damage, but again, a lot of like range CC coming through. The same is true of Prankuru, but also you consider the gold value of the ornaments that are going to be coming in the game. And the longer this goes for Grandview, the more scaling they kind of have. The big thing is you're paying attention to both the Viktor, who's kind of done very well Meslo in this game. Had he not been picked off in that fight, likely would have been a solid deterrent or one of the big carries that had happened. So him going down was very, very influential for San Diego winning that fight. And when he gets onto the first Ornn item, when you get onto kind of that point, you can really start ripping through a lot of the team that San Diego has behind them. So that's what we're anticipating. The advantage that Meslo's been able to carry has kind of thrust him into the position of attention inside of this game. AIRREN is also very strong, don't get me wrong, but Meslo I don't think was anticipated to be as strong as he is at this point with the multiple kills and the CS that he's got in his back pocket.
Now that tension, that lead is being applied into the mid lane for Grandview University as they try and take the tower, but too many members of UC San Diego are going to stand firm over there. You could also see the roam that was coming out of Lemontart trying to start up a little bit of ruckus in the mid lane if a fight were to break out. Not going to be the case. UC San Diego, smart with the responses here. Taking a look at the state of the map, we still have 2 minutes before we get another Drake. 17 minutes into this, it's UC San Diego who are holding the lead and trying to establish more of that deep vision. As you can see, they're going for an engage now. The bubble's going to land. Pluto able to grab that one, unless falling to about half health. It's going to be Pluto and Kolthro who are healthy.
Poking a little bit forward into the jungle, trying to maybe start to put some pressure onto Kolthro is one thing. Meslo's on the other side of the map kind of pulling, very, very easily. There's no one to respond. They're moving LTD up there just as we speak to make sure that the Ahri is catching the waves and making sure Meslo isn't just free farming, together. One thing that's kind of in my mind right now is that Angst has really gone untouched in a game like this, and this Gwen is really good for through team fighting. If you start stacking members together and you hit this ultimate, you hit a bunch of the kind of really stacked damage that the Gwen's going to have, you've given up quite a bit. Angst is low-key somebody that could very much pop off in a late-game fight here for San Diego that maybe isn't anticipated for Grandview.
In the UPL, he's shown carry potential so many times. So let's see if he can bring that here. The round of 32 for C-Lol. UC San Diego are now fighting for control over on this top side of the map. And you see they're being met by Kolthro, by the rest of Grandview. Lots of control over here. Taking a look at the towers as well. They've been slowly able to deconstruct towards the top side, trying to bleed that in for the mid lane as they get more control onto the side of the map and just let Angst do his thing in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing into Prankuru. Prankuru is just catching waves. They're back and forth again and again. Either one of them leaving probably leads to the bottom tower going down in one case or another. And, mid lane tower still stands for both of these teams. It's cracked because of the Rift Herald charge from San Diego, but neither team has really made an aggressive move quite yet. I think we're waiting on the Ocean or the Ocean Drake to really come up or any more neutral objectives to come through before we get any kind of really big team fight that could be massively game-changing.
Unfortunately, having a little bit of a technical difficulty. We'll get that sorted in just a moment. Still talking about this game, though. It is anyone's game in the grand scheme of things. It's going much more competitive than I thought it was. I like the fact that UC San Diego have acquired this lead. It's only about 3K. We're just, a minute 20 away before that 20-minute point. So it's a good start for UC San Diego and something they can follow through on, as you said, in the top lane, Angst, who's been largely unchecked.
The real worry, of course, again, is the scaling for GVU, being able to take into the late game, the coordination they're going to have. But yeah, kicking off onto a gold advantage. I think this next dragon is important because you need to slow the pacing of the game down if you're on the side of San Diego. Since you've got the gold lead, you've got 3K, you want to use it to the best of your abilities to really take this advantage to try to fight. Because if you give up a third dragon, you're forced to fight on the next dragon, which is... it's just, if you 50-50 it and you're trying to take a smite fight against Kolthro and it goes poorly, all of a sudden you're playing against an Ocean Soul team, which is It's not the most game breaking soul in some circumstances, but it's never something you want to give up for free. And so I think here and now is the best time to go fighting for the side of UCSD. They've got enough power in a lot of their members. They've got the goal to be able to do it, and this is where they can really kind of take control of a game like this. Even if they give up the dragon, but they end up getting a 5-man kind of engagement or 4 kills off the end of it, and they end up pulled Baron on the other side. That's enough of a gold lead, I think, to warrant just walking towards this dragon pit, being on the ready for a 5-on-5 fight when the time comes.
And I would like to see UCSD be active for this next fight to try and challenge something for this next fight, because I'm looking at the breakpoints for Grand V University, and they're coming up very soon. You are just shy of that 2-item Lucian. You're just shy of that 2-item Viktor. And, of course, the tools that Grand V are taking have great skirmish potential in both the Call of the Forge God and the Tidal Wave. This can do so much for the fights. They're not at that breakpoint just yet, and this is what UC San Diego have to try and abuse and capitalize on.
Absolutely, and especially because like the late game carry isn't really there for them. They have a Viktor on the side of GVU. They've got Ornn to give itemization to, give better scaling to some of their members, because you can upgrade their items and you can do a lot more with what you already have. On the other side, I mean, Ahri isn't the greatest of late game carries, just outright. You have pick potential, but you don't really have just like pure 5-on-5 carry. Gwen is the closest thing you've got to that. Jhin is also going to have some supplementary damage as well, so combining all three. But then you're playing a team fight into an Ornn, you're playing a team fight into a Viktor, and it's not the place that you really want to be. So I think ultimately you're looking to fight as soon as possible. So I'm building up all this premise because in 30 seconds we're either going to get a 5-on-5 that really dictates the pacing of this game, or somebody's just going to make us look like fools. Unfortunately, Decerux.
Let's find out right now.
Hopefully.
The dragon spawning very, very soon. It's almost there.
Yeah.
UC San Diego are not on the inside track, standing more towards the mid lane, but still cutting through the jungle. It's going to be Grandview who are taking a little bit more priority towards the river itself.
Going to grab mid prio as fast as possible. Now, KingClueless does have the wraparound. He's kind of alone and lonesome, and there's 2 members behind him. So Anx and lemontartdreamer are here. lemontartdreamer's got TP, but I don't think you want to be backing this late. I think you should be waiting, and you should just be playing this out the way it is, unless you have an upgrade. He agrees with me, so he's going to stay at least for a second. Now you got to find a way to get this in, or...
Okay. Forcing the engage. Call of the Forge God is going to force out a flash, so unless we'll not have that as an engage tool for this next fight, pushing the tempo is going to be Grand V University. They come in with the tidal wave. Out comes the onslaught of shadows. KingClueless gets destroyed. Now looking to return the favor is going to be UC San Diego's lemontartdreamer tries to dive in. He's going to find one on the back line, swing around with the spirit rush, but get caught out and destroyed by Kolthro, who puts down the slow with the smite tiger stance, tearing up the health bar of Disrespectful, forces out the flash of Disrespectful, and a 1-for-4 exchange. Grand V University take it.
And a perfect situation that plays out for Grandview here. They grab mid control, and as a 5-man unit and a death ball walking into the river, they're able to secure their position really effectively. They break down San Diego by making them attack from multiple angles, which isn't exactly their strongest suit, and they grab the objective easily against a team that had an advantage against them. They start off by forcing Unless's flash, which means that it's harder to kind of get as deep as you would want into a fight, because Jhin can affect it with an ultimate, but Unless really needs to get in there with like an E flash or an ultimate to make an effect. Here's another big point, because KingClueless has to throw an ultimate into the middle of this team to make sure that things are broken up. And yeah, the damage is just nothing. He ends up getting completely blown up. Now, LTD almost kills Meslo. If he lands both Qs and that ultimate, he gets 2 resets and might kill Pluto as well on the end of this one, and it just becomes Disrespectful versus 2. Instead, it ends up being 2 kills slipping away from his hands, and it's just the 1-for-4 here in favor of GVU, who now claim gold convent, and also now bring the game into a very, very stagnant state where they've got control of the dragon stacking as well. They can just wait as long as they want at any point.
And I'm scared. I'm very scared for UCSD for the reasons we mentioned earlier. You do have that 2-item Lucian now. The Essence Reaver was just completed off the last paycheck of that team fight. Meslo, not at that point just yet, but very much getting there after that last fight we considered. So UCSD, they're going to have to take these fights much more carefully as we get into the mid-game.
Yes, they will. Hopefully they can attack as a kind of one big unit. If they're going to use flanking like that, obviously the RA is a really good idea. Anx is a very good idea to be able to use that too. And neither one of them were really in a perfect situation to kind of play out that fight, because they got jumped by, again, that full 5-man unit that came in from San Diego with no support coming in from KingClueless as he got popped. And then, of course, the very late entrance coming in from Unless made it difficult. You're picking out the damage dealers first. Obviously, you're looking for Meslo. That's one of the big ones. You're looking for AIRREN eventually as well as one of the big ones that lemontartdreamer can try to go for, or one of these flankers can look for. Anx kind of just wants to jump into the big bulk of all 5 of them and throw that needlework all the way through. But again, it requires the entire team to be on the same page. And right there, they got split up way too easily. That's GVU's coordination, knowing that there's no way for San Diego to come back and fight with that.
And with their tools, you know, you spend one, you have another one. Grandview University are happy about that. They did the Call the Forge got to stop Unless from being able to engage. You got a tidal wave to force the other end of the engage. So much flexibility with how Grandview can take a lot of these fights. Now, lemontartdreamer trying to go on to Meslo. Can't get the charm onto Meslo. So even with the Everfrost landing, a little bit of a close exchange there. Could have been a lot worse for Meslo over on the top side, but will chase away the Ahri. And now look at this from Grandview. They're making the play. They're making the call. It's Baron time.
KingClueless was on the other side of the map. I don't know if they spotted him at some point, but it's possible that's what happened with Ornn. They've got a half burnt already. It's a very quick Baron with the combination of the Udyr and AIRREN, as well as the Nami empowering them. They've got it down to maybe 40% health. They are. Turn off.
Here we go, engage, Call the Forge God goes out, it's not gonna land. Now Lemon-Tart, the tank is the only one who's gonna get caught out by Lemon-Tart. The rest of the front line is getting destroyed. Now Grandview University, they've lost AIRREN so far, one of their key DPS members to take this team fight. So Grandview University going to take the 1 for 2, not challenge this fight any further.
Yeah, stop the Baron. That is at least one thing. They're able to kind of kick that fight completely out. Meslo is out of mana, and it's a threaten from, Grandview. They're looking to try to posture for a fight because they've got a lot of really good engage in one direction. If they can force a front to back, and Udyr gets to sit at the front, he's ridiculously tanky. Kolthro is at the front of this fight as well. So San Diego, I think they're breathing a sigh of release that Meslo was out of mana, and that, AIRREN got brought down very quickly in that fight. Well done by KingClueless to be able to find that one kill, because it could have been very, very dangerous if they had to continue that engagement any further.
Yeah, if AIRREN was still alive, that would have been hell. Good targeting coming out from UC San Diego. Still staying alive at these later stages of the game. Still holding that lead at these later stages of the game. It just doesn't really feel like it because, again, mentioned earlier, this is the spiking power points for Grandview University that UC San Diego are trying to challenge. We do have 50 seconds before the next Drake does spawn. See, starting to set up around this area. That will be Dragon Soul for Grandview University. And UC San Diego, they will be the first ones to get their foot towards the river. But Kolthro says, bring it, man. I dare you. I dare you to walk into my waters.
I want to note really quickly that there's, no way to kill these tanks. Jhin doesn't kill tanks. Ahri definitely doesn't kill tanks most of the time. They have to wear down the health bars. And yes, if they kill the damage, it's very easy to continue the fight from that point. Oh, KingClueless!
Oh, so much damage on the KingClueless. My goodness. He falls to about 200 health right there. And now you don't have one of your primary engagers, your jungler, your smite. This is Dragon Soul for Grandview University.
And they might just have to give it. Again, Ocean Soul is not without the ability to come against it. I think there are dragons that do this job of ending a game a lot better. KingClueless went very deep. He actually went way across the map to try to find something. They're going to look for a play. They want to stop this.
Comes Call the Forge God, able to get the knockup. Lemon-Tart coming on the flank, trying to find the charm. Doesn't get on onto Meslo, able to sidestep the deception. Look at the damage come through. Suddenly UC San Diego, they have some life as they found AIRREN. Still alive is lemontartdreamer, but can't get another charm as the curtain called. It is opened up, landing onto Kolthro. The fourth shot on the Meslo will not take him down, but UC San Diego only sacrificing unless are able to get the better of Grandview University.
And despite driving out KingClueless from the beginning of that fight, dropping him to 200 health, he found a way to get his health bar back and get back to that fight before the full engagement was there. I don't know if Grandview had full committed to that really as quickly as they could have. They could have jumped on for it immediately. Instead, it seemed like they were fishing for a bit of a fight ahead of time, and now that's confidence from San Diego. They brought down at least a member. They're looking at redeploys. They're looking at this Baron. This could really accelerate their game, turn the tide completely in their favor.
This is turning the tide indeed. Rebel Kolthro not able to sidestep that charm, gets caught out by the deadly flourish. Onks is going to go on top of him, jumping forward, gets caught out. Meslo will grab one. That is the mid laner down for UC San Diego. Kolthro now standing in the wings. Health bars oh so low for San Diego. Capitalization coming from AIRREN as he will go after Onks. He will go after Disrespectful. Out comes the Solar Flare used defensively, but here is the tidal wave. More to outrun. Prankuru on the flank, a sacrificial lamb. It's going to be Onks and Grandview University. They retaliate and they take a team fight win right back to UC San Diego.
Incredibly aggressive Baron call from San Diego. I really think they just keep Jhin in the pit right there, and they just have to just burn it down, and they have to tank it, and they have to see who can get out of that fight. They pull 3 people out with Baron, they take it off the map. Grandview's got no dragon. They might lose a mid lane structure or something like that, but it's not going to turn the tide, and that Baron's going to be far more influential for them on 3 members than it would be giving it up like this. And instead, the fight gets flipped, the Baron gets flipped, and San Diego has lost the lead that they had in a game like this. Look, this. lemontartdreamer does a good job pushing people off. Disrespectful, same way. Baron's down to 3,000 health. Keep Disrespectful autoing it. Keep him on this one, because running off of it, having to go through the gravity field, slow down KingClueless enough to where he couldn't get on Kolthro, couldn't get on Meslo, and it meant the damage dealers got to arrive. It meant that all of a sudden AIRREN, he's able to show up at the right time. He's able to clean up the remainder of this fight as well, and that means everything shifts completely in favor of UCSD. I thought right here maybe Alex had a chance with an ultimate to be able to actually throw it through a number of members, get maybe one kill if they turned fully, but obviously not agreed by Disrespectful, not thinking they'd be able to clean up any more members of that fight, slow down the Baron attempt, and now GVU, they are the ones in the driver's seat.
And Meslo with the clutch. So clutch to get that assassination onto lemonchart. After he had burned his ultimate and his laser at the same time, still had enough damage to finish the job onto lemontartdreamer. Now Grandview University are getting control over towards this dragon side. It's still 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but it's more about lane priority than anything else. Establishing these lane states, getting them strong for Grandview University as they set up for a Baron-empowered siege.
Breaking a bit of this, the kind of like structures that exist on the map is also ambient standing gold that exists here for Grandview that otherwise wouldn't have been able to be taken because like you just don't have the pushing power for it. So here they put a bunch into the bot lane, like you said, being able to push up mid and bot at the same time buys them space to be able to go for the dragon. But we get a base race right now.
I have one. Grandview University looking for the Engrage. Prankuru starting up. Here comes the Call of the Forge God. Lands onto Disrespectful. Too far away. Inhibitor
isn't stopping.
Falls. They're still going.
They've got Baron.
Still going.
I think he has
Ox
to
is
back
finally
now.
backing off here. The Nexus Tower under attack. Nexus Tower number 1 is going to go down. Kolthro standing in front. So is Prankuru. Gets unless far too low. Meslo grabs that kill, and now it's a 4v5 Baron empowered siege. Here comes the tidal wave. UC San Diego tried to survive, but AIRREN says no, we'll take down their marksman. Bubble comes out, but Gwen is immune. AIRREN wants to bring the damage, and here comes KingClueless to deliver another kill. It's a double for AIRREN as he looks to make it a triple. Will he capitalize? Yes, he will. AIRREN with the triple kill. Grandview University, they call the bluff of UC San Diego, and they take game number 1 of this best of 3.
I gotta say, Grandview's ability to kind of punish them on the back end of it, just barely overextension coming out from the side of San Diego, really incredible. The game was in slim margins the entire time, so props to both of them for giving us an incredibly riveting game number 1. And GVU able to outlast the side of San Diego. They were 3,000 gold down. They gave up that dragon play that I thought really was going to be the crux, really was going to drive this game back into San Diego's favor, and they clutched out the fight around Baron. They got their damage dealers there in time, and they're able to make it work. Incredibly close game for about 20-25 minutes.
Rebel, can your heart take it anymore, man? You've been casting for so long today, and now we have another hype series going off. How are you surviving, brother?
And the only way it's still going is the power of love. The power of love for League of Legends and Collegiate right now. That's all I'm running on, and as soon as it's over, as soon as the round of 32 is done, I am just going to pass out like a robot out of energy.
Oh, man. All right. Game number 1 in the books. Our analyst desk waiting to break that one down. Jensen, go ahead and break this one down because my goodness, it was a slobber knocker. Take it away.
And with that, we are back here at the analyst desk. I have to say, that has to be the most exciting game of League of Legends we've seen so far. There's a back and forth, lots of team fights and stuff like that. It seemed like we might have highlighted the wrong players to those people who might not understand what's happening. But I have to say, KingClueless, this guy, I feel that he was carrying UC San Diego throughout most of this game itself. He went with the damage Hecarim build, and he was looking for these proactive plays. This game would have been a series of what is if we were to look back at that. So if you're looking at it, haha, this guy finished the game 3-7, he's trolling, he's feeding on the Hecarim. That is not the case. This is a case of a guy, right ideas, right place, right time, and it's just a little bit unfortunate things that happen on the hands gap. And to iterate the point, I think Tyler, let's take us through the first replay that we have over here at 4 minutes 30, happening in the bottom lane, where he identifies Mismatch jungle potting, open it jungle combi here, brings the mid laner down, and let's watch what unfolds.
Tyler, you're muted.
I noticed I'm muted. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, this bot play from UCSD is huge for what they want to accomplish in this game. They have a winning topside already with the Gwen into Ornn. It's a great matchup, and the fact that they can affect this Lucian Nami bot duo, that's pick to win lane with this 4-man bot dive is huge. They get lane priority, they bring this Ahri down, and just unfortunately with how the sequencing worked, they miss some of their abilities, and they don't walk properly away from the turret aggro. This could have been so much better for the side of UCSD. Should have been a 1 for 2 there, and securing even a tower plate on top of that if Jhin stays alive. That would have been so big for their bot duo, and to shut down the main game plan coming from GVU early game was really, really huge from these guys. And it comes back on top of their jungler again, who, as Jensen mentioned, you know, he was in the right place at the right time for a lot of these plays, and was really making a lot of things happen for them early.
And this is a result of a TP gap. We saw that Ahri was able to get the priority to walk down here with his jungler to sync up because Meslo on the Viktor was forced to take cleanse into the Leona and the Ahri. So really well played to punish the summoner spells like that, because normally the cover for a play like that would be Viktor's teleport. So incredibly well played, really impressive for such a young roster.
I have to say though, given the age of this roster, most of the time I would prefer if they went with a composition much more similar to GVU's. You have a much more reliable ability to hold on the fort. You get the set on the objective first, and it's easy to fend off the opponents. But here, UC San Diego, I think they went for this multi-flank composition with the likes of Hecarim, the likes of Jhin, the ability to hit people from multiple angles, and that brings us to the second replay, and we can talk about it later on in the later replays as well. But let's take a look at this dragon fight here at 1930. TJ, take it away. Break down this team fight for us and what both teams should be looking at here.
Yeah, so we see that Leona gets caught out at the start, is forced to burn the flash and trade for an Ornn ultimate. And it looks kind of hard to play from this point because they're split off on different angles. For UCSD, Hecarim's able to go in, instantly gets killed because he's building damage, and GVU is able to go ahead and take a win on this team fight. When you look at this, you're like, okay, it's very chaotic, and it's not the worst thing to be chaotic in a team fight like this, force UCSD, because they have an Ahri who loves to play on the sides and the flanks. The same thing with Gwen. She loves to just hold angles and play space. And so it looks a little weird from especially a collegiate stream where it's normally like, okay, let's group up, team fight, press our ultimates together. But it was really impressive position. I just think there were some misexecution errors, and maybe it wasn't the proper time in the game to fight.
So there we have it. According to TJ, idea was right. Position was fine. It's just a matter of getting the people to press the buttons together as unit, right? Once again, opening up the Jensen coaching menu. First one, yep, press your flashes, guys. Second one, talk to each other and press your buttons, guys, right? And this brings us to the third replay, the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back here, as we take a look at this Baron setup and how this game was ultimately swung in the favor in a very violent and sudden fashion. For engineering students, that refers to a stress fracture, but here we have it on screen. TJ,
Yeah.
take it away.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, TJ. Go ahead.
So same thing. It's a Baron play. This is immediately following the Dragon, where UCSD actually takes a win. They get a little overzealous to start the Baron. Unfortunately, Hecarim ends up with no mana, and GVU is on short respawn timers, so they're able to come up, clean them up, and then this does result in GVU getting the Baron. From this position, it becomes really difficult to win the game, and GVU obviously does take a victory. I actually do think that it's possible to do Baron, maybe, but it's very conditional. It's a risk that doesn't need to be taken. Instead, I would have liked to have seen a reset, play again on another big Hecarim ult that was just proceeding to this, or maybe a good Gwen flank, Ahri charm, etc., and then see what can happen instead of taking a pretty big risk by doing this.
It seems like both of these teams coming in, they really wanted to try and threaten Baron at this timing. They feel like Baron's up now. It's something that we can use to start a fight, or to like hopefully secure it and win the game. But I think if both these teams kind of took a step back and took a breather and realized that like, okay, we don't have to do Baron to win this game. We can continue to do our dragon setups, continue to have these great positionings for the fights. Like both teams have angles to team fight in this composition. It's not like one team severely outscales the other. And I think if they just take a deep breath and just try and focus more on not rushing things, this Baron felt really, really rushed to me. And unfortunately, they just lost the game off of it. But something like that happens when you have these players on UCSD who they have 3 new players coming in. This is their first time playing CLOL on this team. And sometimes nerves can get to you early on a series. And I hope that they can overcome them in this next game. Now the first game's over and they can continue to bring us a great matchup against GVU, because that was a really great game 1.
Right, so let's talk about the next game here a little bit, right? This is a very close game. I think all 3 of us can agree on that. Could have swung in any team's favor. So, Tyler, if you're going here, if you are UC San Diego now, would you be a fan of the salty runback, right? If you see same 3 champions being banned, you opted to going to red side once again. Do you do the exact same draft, or do you say, you know what, we weren't too happy with these things, let's go to plan B instead?
I feel like I would be down for a salty run back if I was on UCSD. Honestly, I feel like they pick champions that they're pretty comfortable on, and overall they got a strong gold lead with their team composition, and we're in my opinion, great position to win that game. Minus a few throws that they happen to do with positioning errors or not coordinating their team fights just well enough that maybe they have a little bit more time. I know TJ might disagree a little bit with the Ahri pick. He wasn't too impressed, but I think overall, like maybe Ahri next game, she was 3-1 already at the start of that one, and she didn't even nearly land all of her abilities. So who knows if she plays it again, things go more well this time. I think they used at least the priority of Ahri really well that game. So I'm down for a salty run back, and I feel like they have a good chance if they do.
As for
Well,
you,
it was a
TJ,
super
real
exciting
fast.
game. It was super exciting, very fun game to watch, very fun game to play. I'm assuming. I really wouldn't mind a salty run back. I would just like to see them hit their abilities. The Ahri was pretty unimpressive on the charms, minus the one on Udyr at Baron. And so, like Tyler said, imagine if she did end up hitting them. If maybe the players are feeling so confident on the day, maybe nervous on the stream or first time playing in giant conference like this or competition, then maybe it should result in an easier champion. But if the player's like, nah, that was a game one thing, like I'm over it, I'm ready, I don't mind the Ahri at all. It's just a little hard to execute in terms of being on different flanks and coordination, etc.
And I think that
The
that's
last thing I
something
want to
that
add
they
after
they
you're
can
done,
talk
Jensen.
about. Sorry, on to you. Yep.
The last thing I want to add is there's one golden rule that I think I'll quote Evan RL on this one. He's Maryville's AD carry, or one of the two. His golden rule in collegiate is you shelf your ego and you ban the one tricks. And it's pretty safe to say that Kolthro is a very, very good Udyr. He gets it banned away from him a lot, and giving it to him on 4-5 even without banning it, I think it would be good to shelf the ego and ban the Udyr.
Right, and with that, we'll be throwing over to Acosta's Decerux and Rebel Fox. Take it away.